great vengeance plot is nothing without some betrayal faced by the main character from someone he holds very dear that he never anticipated. That very betrayal becomes the fuel for his character development, and he makes a comeback by becoming 10x stronger. But that requires a lot of crying, pulling the hair, losing the mind, and then coming back stronger. Our badass MCs will not hesitate kicking some ass to take revenge, protect someone, or even just to survive. The theme of revenge is pretty interesting because we get to see very fragile human emotions and how they entirely change a person from zero to a hero. Today, we shall talk about some anime featuring main characters getting betrayed by their close ones and coming back full of salt and fury, of course. Let's get right into the details. Masamune, a pig-like boy, born with a golden spoon in his mouth, loves nothing but food. But when this kid gets bullied and betrayed due to his size, the story takes a different turn. He shed a few pounds and became one of the most famous guy in the country. Well, a weak main character becoming overpowered is a common trope. But a wimpy, fat kid becoming famous is a new one. After getting rid of the fat, he also got rid of his weak personality. He did so to retaliate against the ones who pushed him down. Unfortunately, the premise is not that novel, but it is filled with twists. The well-paced story seems more like a parody than a revenge anime. After being thrown out of an orphanage, Nakajima Atsushi survives a near-death situation. Such a situation was caused due to starvation. After he survives, a series of peculiar men introduce themselves. Among them, the most peculiar ones are Dazai Osamu and Kunakita Dappo. They both are part of the Armed Detective Agency, an agency that takes on cases that the military or the police can't. And this intrigues Atsushi, and he joins the duo in hopes of killing the one who betrayed and humiliated him. So they venture into the virtual city of Yokohama to kill the man-eating tiger and become one of the bungo masters with unordinary powers. In a world where magic is the source of power, there is one useless individual. Iki Kurigane wants to be a knight, an individual who is able to manifest his own soul's magic into weapons to fight. For this, he is admitted into the knight training program, but fails no matter how hard he tries. This earns him the title of a failed knight. Such a circumstance boycotts him from his family and also his class. But after he meets Stella Vermilion, things start changing. He acquires the confidence to use his own magic in a much more refined manner. But this is not well received by many. Even his father is against this and traps him. This fuels his anger and makes him one of the most overpowered knights in his school. A dystopian world that is riddled with monsters known as filth. It may sound like a typical anime, but believe me, it isn't. This anime is one filled with fantasy and betrayal and an overpowered main character. Nina Antic, a military understudy, wants to be the best in this world. But this becomes somewhat tough when Lathan Alseith joins the Foundation. He has the potential to be the best and beat Nina, but his mysterious past won't let him be. Let alone being the best, his obscure past makes it hard for him even to join the academy. But still, he overcomes those hardships and joins the force to prove his worth. That's because this is only the start of his struggles. Dororo is a beautiful piece of anime with a prominent theme of revenge and betrayal. Our MC is left to die after being betrayed by his own father, and he miraculously survives and comes back 10x stronger to set things right. Dororo tells us the story of Hyakkimaru, who was served as an offering to a devil by his father just because he wanted to save his land. It was his greed that made him renounce Buddha and make a pact with the devil. Hyakkimaru is born without any limbs, nose, eyes or even skin. But he's allowed to live. He's soon disposed of in a river, but he miraculously manages to survive until he's found by a medicine man who gives him prosthetic limbs and everything else that was missing on his body so that he could survive on his own. He meets an orphan who becomes very close to him. Now, Hyakkimaru must defeat demons to get the parts of his body back that were missing at his birth.
それが貴様の真の力か。それでこそ粉砕のしがいがある。
We have another OG anime that tells us the story of some brutal betrayal. It's not really noticeable at the start, but once you realize what's going on, it'll leave you with your jaw dropped to the ground. The story revolves around Guts, who had a tough ever since he opened his eyes to the world. Growing up, he had to fight battles after battles just to survive. He soon joins a group of mercenaries whose leader is Griffith, also known as White Hawk. He manages to impress Griffith due to his raw power and climbs up the ranks without even breaking a sweat. Now, he must fight alongside them to survive and to get his revenge. Arifuretta shares a lot of similarities with the Rising of the Shield Hero, as both involve MCs that are pretty weak and kind-hearted until they're betrayed. Focus on the word until. Our Goody Two Shoes MC in Arifuretta completely changes when he's betrayed by his comrade and holds a very bitter grudge. Arifuretta tells us a story of a high schooler named Hajime Nagumo who gets isekai'd to a fantasy world along with his classmates. All of them are treated like heroes there with some insane superhuman powers. However, our MC is granted with only basic alchemical magic that holds no worth at all. He's betrayed by one of his classmates during a dungeon raid and finds himself at the bottom of the dungeon. Now, he pledges to become stronger than anyone else and take his revenge as well. Focusing mainly on the themes of betrayal and revenge, Vinland Saga tells us the story of a boy who gave up on everything just to take revenge. He becomes the part of that very tribe that killed his father and wishes to destroy them with his own hands. And ladies and gentlemen, that's how Thorfinn became someone who he hated the most. He sees nothing but blood and has sacrificed everything for vengeance. This anime revolves around Thorfinn, who lives in an icy village in Iceland. He's greatly impressed by the tales of the old sailors that have witnessed a beautiful land that is warm and fertile, unlike their own village. They're also at war with Vikings that know nothing but bloodshed. Thorfinn's father is killed after being betrayed before his own eyes, and that makes his blood boil. He then joins the Vikings and travels with them, hoping one day he'd get to kill the man, Askeladd, who killed his father. This anime involves some dark themes that might not be suitable for some viewers. The abuse our MC faces in this one is really brutal and is something constant in his life. He throws away his humanity and comes back even stronger, taking brutal revenge against those who did him wrong. The story involves a healing magician, Kieru, who is sexually abused repeatedly by others. His class is the strongest amongst other classes, but he has no idea about it. By the time he realizes his potential, it's too late for him as he has lost everything. He somehow manages to go back in time and decides to set everything straight, including kicking some asses of his abusers. The ultimate anime that does justice with the themes of betrayal and vengeance, Rising of the Shield Hero, is an eye-opener for us to not trust anybody easily. Our MC in this one was naive and fell prey to a pretty girl who accused him of sexual harassment later, which stripped him off of all the grace. He then became extremely bitter and treated everybody like shit. Rising of the Shield Hero tells us the story of Naofumi Iwatani, who got summoned to a fantasy world along with 3 other people as a legendary hero. He's the weakest of all the 4 heroes and is not very popular amongst the masses. Things get even messy when he's betrayed and accused of sexual assault by the daughter of the king of Melramerk. Betrayal sure ignites the feelings strong enough to completely change a person's perception towards things and shapes him into a completely different and mature individual. The MCs of all the aforementioned anime have one thing in common: revenge. Some of them are blinded by it, and some of them take logical steps in order to take their revenge. The theme of revenge and betrayal sure is an interesting one in anime. We hope you liked our list of anime where MC gets betrayed. Comment down below if you know about more like these.